Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's the Aggie Soccer Hour with Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri. I'm David Ellis, and alongside is Coach G. And it's been a busy week of Aggie soccer. The Aggies went up to Nashville last week and take on the Vanderbilt Commodores, and it didn't go well. Texas A&M played.
Understatement.
Texas A&M did not play well, period, end of story. But they came back, and after the Aggies had lost to Alabama at Kyle Field with the pointy football, Texas A&M went over or played Alabama Sunday afternoon in soccer with the round football and beat them 3-1. I mean, literally got off the mat and beat Alabama, and it was one of the
first spotted them a goal.
Spotted them a goal first, and then, you know, so many times when you're an athlete and you get, you know, you have a game like Vanderbilt, the way you respond the next game, X's and O's are important, and I get all that, but it is much more about what's inside of you. And what have you got that you can turn this around and get up off the mat and play like you know you can play? And Texas A&M did that. And it's what happened next that counts. And that's the sign that you guys had up in the locker room on Sunday.
It is, and you know, I don't know if I can get this onto the thing for Facebook. I'll try. I'll see if I can put that up there so people can see that. But this is what was up on. Can people see that? See if I can make that a little bit easier for folks to see. Maybe not, but yeah, there you go. You can see that a little bit, but. It's what happens next that counts is what we're talking about, and that's credit Phil Stevenson for a lot. But that's Phil put that up for the players so that would be the first thing that they saw the next morning when they came in from the Vanderbilt game, and that was the messaging that we wanted the players to remember. That you had to, you know, you've got to leave the past in the past, and we can of course learn from it, and we have to learn from what happens in the past, and use that as anything that we can do to learn from these things and get better from them, and use that sometimes as fuel for the fire that you've got to have going forward, but. You know, but to still believe in yourself and to know that you are good enough to do whatever it takes to take that next step and to do whatever it takes to be successful. And you know, really proud of the players for what they were able to accomplish. And you know, Thursday night. You know, it was brought up earlier today that, you know, Thursday night, even though the score was, you know, it was the worst loss that we've had this century. That's all. It was, but the players never quit.
That's true.
You know, and we made a lot of substitutions. Once the score got a little out of hand, we're like, okay, you know, there's some players that have put a lot of minutes in. Let's get them off the field because we have a huge game on Sunday that we're going to need these players. But we've got players who need to get in there and play, and we got players who deserve to get in there and play. And they went in there and they put everything possible into it. And even the players who didn't get in, they were on the sideline, and there was never quit in anything. And the energy that everyone was still trying to put into it was absolutely there. And you don't see that from teams. You just don't see it. And what these players do for each other is what kind of makes, you know, this group pretty darn special.
Well, and as you mentioned a moment ago, after coming off of that defeat, then you play pretty good in the first half. I mean, the first half was, I was going to say even, but I think Texas A&M was really kind of on the front foot against Alabama for most of the first half. And then, you know, 7 minutes into the second half, Alabama scores and goes up 1-0, and you think, you know, it would have been so easy to go, okay, here it goes again. but they didn't. Well, and that was what was so impressive to me.
And the deal was that coming into the game against Alabama's number 11 in the national RPI. We'll talk about the RPI a little bit later in the show.
Right.
But the RPI is such an important factor in determining the NCAA tournament. You know, we've been in 27 of the last 28 NCAA tournaments. That goes way back into last century. Speaking of centuries. So, you know, all of a sudden, you know, this is a game that we got to win this game. Because this is 11. You knock off number 11. Beating top 25 teams in the RPI is a massive factor. And so this is an opportunity for us. We have them on our home field. We have them in front of the 12th man. And a little mistake, and bang, bang, they get to their big striker, and she scores, as big strikers will do.
Right.
And so now it's like, dang, it's opportunity. We've had these opportunities before, and this has happened. And so how long does it take us to get back from this?
A minute and a half.
And that's the response that you hope will happen. And, you know, and it was exactly that. It was exactly what you would hope that your team is going to do, that they're going to not just lay down and dip their heads, but they're going to raise up, they're going to get up off the mat, they're going to raise their chins, they're going to raise their chest, and they're going to pound away back at it. And then after they score the equalizer,
a minute 59.
We go ahead.
Yes, we score the go-ahead
on another incredible, two-player effort to get ourselves back into the game. And now we're ahead. And now all of a sudden, you look at the other team, and their heads are down.
Yes.
And our players, and now our foot is on their throat, and we don't let up for the rest of the match. And it's really the rest of the game is us.
Couple of things that I wanted to mention specifically. By the way, Maile Hayes and Addie Armenta are here tonight. They'll be joining us in the second segment. But what I was going to mention on the second goal, well, first of all, Taylor Pounds banged one in from about 32, 33 yards. I mean, she just ripped it right under the crossbar. And I'm going to take partial credit for that.
Okay.
Because remember, 2 weeks ago.
Was it you that set that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, she was on as a guest, and I told her that I personally thought it was about time she scored. And she said, okay.
Right.
And so
she hadn't thought about that prior to.
No.
That was good that you reminded her of that. Good.
So you're welcome.
You can talk to these two about that as well, because I know that Maile has been forgetting about those things. Remind her when she's up here as our striker about scoring. I bet she'll.
I will.
She'll thank you.
But so this is an interesting stat.
Uh-huh.
Did you see the open? Have you seen the game where the open of the show where Jeff and I are up there talking? Mm-hmm. You saw the stat that he came up with?
No, I didn't see this.
Okay. So we were looking. He was looking at when Maile had scored, and he was going, okay, she had like 10 or 11 goals last year, whatever it was, and she's got 4. And then he goes back and he looks, and this was as of Sunday, that day, last Sunday for last season. Mm-hmm. She had 2 goals.
And then she got hot.
Wow. So now she's getting ready to get hot.
Well,
so there you go.
I have no doubts. Well, it's not like she hasn't created
Not to put any
opportunities.
pressure on you or anything. I'm just saying.
The clock is ticking, right? Well, but it's not like she hasn't created opportunities.
I know.
Because, like I said, she created the opportunity for Mia on the second goal, but also the chaos that she creates. For the other team's back line is, and we'll talk about this when she's up here, but it really is.
But that crossing pass to Mia across the field, it was just drilled. And I mean, and
Mia, behind 4 players, four Bama players, was pretty. You know, just the vision on it was pretty darn amazing.
And then the last goal, Jazz Wilkinson's goal. I mean, the ball went from Taylor Pounds to Jazz Wilkinson to Sydney Becerra, and then Sydney sent a diagonal ball that Jazz ran onto. I mean, it was just a perfectly weighted
and timed
ball.
Her run to stay onside.
Absolutely. Right. Timed her run. And then Jazz, basically, she's in behind. The keeper comes out, which was the only thing she could do. And Jazz, instead of trying to bang it through the back of the net, just with the inside of her foot, just sent it into the side netting. And, I mean, with just enough pace to, she didn't try to, like I say, send it through the back of the net. With enough pace to get it past the keeper, and bang. Next thing you know, it's 3-1 and we're coasting.
Yep. And those 3 players, that little sequence that you described, And those were all with pretty much with the inside of their foot. That covered about 75 yards.
Yeah.
It was just bang, 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 and in she goes. And you got to, and again, you talk about this kind of the spirit and the belief and everything that these players have in each other. So Jasmine didn't play in the first half.
Right.
And, she just kind of, she was there on the sideline waiting her turn, and she wasn't stewing, but she was just, she was waiting for her moment to be there to come in. And then when she came in, she made a huge impact, and she's great at bringing other people into the game because the way she can hold the ball and she uses her body so well. She's so strong on the ball and kind of getting it in. I remember when we did bring her out at the end, she's huffing and puffing. I remember, going up and kind of put my arm around her shoulder, and she's like, and I was like, we need an oxygen tank, don't we? She goes, I think so. And I mean, just she waited her time, and then she put every ounce of what she had into it, and that's the way that the whole team has been. And we've got Addie Armenta, who's on the show a little bit later on too, and just the amount of yardage that Addie has put in as a freshman has come in and has put in over her season so far has been pretty darn amazing as an outside back. And Addie hasn't been a defender before coming in this year,
and has started every game.
Yep.
At left back.
Yep. Well, it's one of the things that you see about our players who come in, who graduate early, and then come in and kind of get acclimated into the team. And what has happened to her and Margot Matula, two freshmen who have played and played significant parts in our success this season. Well,
and you look at your back line in general, you've got, as you said, two freshman starters, a sophomore and a junior on the back line. And they have played very well. And it's just and has kept us in so many games. When we were having trouble, banging balls off the post or whatever the case was, and we just couldn't get a break up top, it was the back line that kept us in the game.
Yep.
And they've just been spectacular. And speaking of the back line, Kenna had, I thought, a couple of really good saves the other night, and just, I thought, really played well. Yeah, she did. She, and you can see, she has, she's grown so much as a player and as a leader. I think the team has, really responds to what she does, and you can see how well the team was covering for her, and she was covering for the team. She made a big breakaway save in the first half against Jonna Paul, by getting out, and ball was played, defense was pressuring, but Paul got in, which she does because she's very Allie Watt-like. And hit a shot from probably about 15 yards, but Kenna got out quickly and was at about 9 yards off her line, which is, unusual for keepers to get out that quickly. And the angle was completely cut, and she had knocked it down. Now, most goalkeepers would have only been at about 3 yards, and the net's that much bigger, and the ball would have gone side netting. Right. The shooting angle that she was at. So great save by Kenna. Kenna made a couple other ones on corner kicks that is really difficult for most women to get to, and Kenna's very, very good in the air. So we've been really fortunate. Our goalkeepers have done really well this year. She and Jordan have done really well in their growth as they've been here, and then having Grace McMillan come in as a graduate transfer has really added to our goalkeeper course. I'm really proud of all three of them. And last but not least, in something that I was very proud of, we actually out-fouled somebody. That doesn't happen. Well, no. Don't get me started on referees. But okay, yeah, I'm not trying to wind you up. I'm just saying that we actually commit. I think we were 13th in the number of fouls committed. We foul less than just about anybody else on the team, and we actually we committed 12 fouls, and Alabama committed 9, which again and I'd write it down to that we were just playing aggressive soccer, which I was glad to see. And again, as I told you after the game, that was exactly the kind of game we needed at exactly the time we needed it. Yep. And I couldn't have been happier for the staff and for the girls because they deserved it.
So
We
now,
all did.
coming out of that game, we've got to keep doing it. And now there's we've got 4 games left in the regular season, and the SEC race is really cloudy. It's really tight because there's so many good teams in this league. It's we'll talk about the RPI, but everyone in the league is in the top 100 teams. There are 350 teams in NCAA Division I soccer, and everyone in the SEC is in the top 100. And you've got it to where the big thing for us is, of our last 4 games, 3 of them are on the road.
Yes.
And there is legitimate home field advantage in this league. So for you to go and get wins on the road, you got to be really good, and you got to play really well, and that's what we're going to have to be able to do at Auburn, at Tennessee, and at LSU. And then of course we're going to have to beat a top 15 team when they come to town in South Carolina when they come to town next Thursday for senior night.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. If you're out driving around and trying to think, what are we going to get to eat tonight? Come over to Rudy's Barbecue. They've been cooking all day for you. It would be a shame for you not to come by and eat it. So come on out to Rudy's Barbecue. You can talk soccer with Coach G, with Maile Hayes and Addie Armenta. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Aggie Soccer Hour at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. All righty, we are back at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's the Aggie Soccer Hour with Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri, and we always have a couple of players, and it's our favorite part of the show. And today we are honored by, on my immediate left is Adysen Armenta. Addie is a freshman at Texas A&M, and as I mentioned a while ago, I accused you of playing left back, and that's correct.
Yeah,
correct.
right
I mean,
back.
I've only been watching every year. For all year long, and how I blew that, I don't know. But started every game, as I mentioned a while ago, as a freshman, which is remarkable because that is incredibly demanding. Playing outside back is an incredibly demanding position, and she has played it well. And we're glad to have you. And then on her left is Maile Hayes, who, if I started reading Maile Hayes' accomplishments at Texas A&M, it'd be the top of the hour before we knew what happened. But, I mean, she has been all SEC, first team. I can, 3-4 times SEC Offensive Player of the Week during her career, academic honor roll, Texas A&M Offensive MVP. Newcomer of the year back when she was a freshman, leading scorer, you name it. And I've got to ask you, Maile, have you ever had, we were talking about this before the show, if I were responsible for marking you during the course of the game, you would wear me out, okay? I mean, you were you never quit. I mean, the motor never shuts off. Do defensive players sometimes come up to you and just go, just calm down a little bit? Do they?
No, I don't think they want to show that they're tired, so no.
I mean, you do. You just wear people out. And I mean, and nobody's ever said that to you. I would be going, slow down, man. Just cut me some slack. But nobody ever says that.
Not the defenders. It's usually their coaches who say it for them, I think.
Is that right? All right. So, and Addie, you enrolled early, right?
Yes.
And was that a big help to you?
Yeah, it was a tremendous help, honestly. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't graduate early.
What was the biggest thing about making the adjustment to the back line?
Honestly, just getting used to playing with everyone. I mean, defending is defending, I guess, but just getting used to playing with everyone, and yeah. Okay.
Well, what I was trying to do was ask you a question to get you to answer a little bit, because now you actually have to do something that really, we've been doing this now for 3 or 4 years. So we have this reader that you have to read about Rudy's Barbecue.
That she gets to read.
That you get to read.
Yeah, it's
an honor.
It's an honor.
It is.
It's a bonus that you get to do.
And so, I mean, Miley's done it. You've done it, haven't you?
I think when I came with Mia, she did it.
Oh, she did it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get you back, and we'll get you to do it next time. But you get to read the Rudy's Barbecue Reader. Okay?
Oh, gosh.
So here's the deal, okay? It's not a big deal. It's just that we've never really had anybody mess it up, okay? So, I mean, I don't want to, no pressure or anything.
I don't want to be the first.
But
No,
all right.
she was practicing, and I had to correct her a little bit, so I think she's polished
Okay,
up.
all right.
Yeah.
So sell some barbecue.
Soccer and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's on the web. No. Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com.
There you go. All right. Excellent. Outstanding job. You are hired, okay? Fantastic job. So I've got to ask you guys another question, and this came from the audience. So,
But which, by the way, there are cards. There are cards there on the tables.
if you've got questions for the girls,
and fancy golf pencils.
yeah.
So with no Gary Blair erasers on the pencils, so you can write any questions you might have for any of the players or for us.
So here's the question. This is true. See you guys sign a lot of autographs after the game. You know, posters and balls and all kinds of things. You know, these girls come up, 8, 9, 10-year-old girls come up, and they're just thrilled to death to meet you, as they should be. So do you practice your autograph?
I do not, honestly. I used to write my whole name, but now I only write ADY just because I kept messing it up so many times.
Was it spelling errors or just what
It's
was
just
it?
when your name is that long, the scribbles start to blend together, so it just looks different every time.
Okay. Maile,
Well,
what
I
about-
have a question. So, your generation, did you guys learn to write in cursive coming through grade school?
I only know my name, and that's it.
So you never really did
Yeah,
cursive. Okay,
no.
that's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, we never learned it.
I bet you never used an abacus either.
Don't know what that is.
Me.
That's what we started out on.
It's a Genesis song too, I think. So go ahead.
So, Maile, what about you? Do you something you practice your autograph?
I don't practice it, but when I was younger, like me and my sisters used to always just like write our autographs on like random pieces of paper and stuff. I don't know why, but I guess it came in handy. But I think just like since we do have to sign so many things, it just like it's natural practice. So no, I don't practice it in my free time.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know. But I will tell you though that I had a friend of mine who brought his niece to the game for the first time. The niece's parents came down for the Alabama football game, and she's the one who wanted to stay for the Alabama soccer match. And so I bought a ball. I knew about this in advance, so I got one of the Turn It Gold balls that I bought through the auction. And, you know, y'all all autographed it, and I will tell you, I gave it to her, and her eyes, I mean, she was so pleased to get that. And, I mean, that's how these young ladies look up to you and to the way you play. And I think it's just wonderful that you do, that you take time to do the things you do. So talk about, I want to get each one of you to respond to this, if you would, a little bit about the mindset, you know, coming back from Nashville, and then you come in, we get back at, 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday, something like that. You guys got to get up and go to class and be regular students. And then turn your focus around to it's what comes next that matters. And, Maile, let me ask you first. I mean, kind of what was the mood of the team, and what keyed that turnaround, do you think?
Yeah, well, a big thing that we were talking about is that although we did lose 6-0, which is embarrassing when you look at the score, none of us gave up throughout the game. Like, we were still all fighting through the very end, which that's obviously what makes or breaks a team. So I think we were still really, that's something we could still really be proud of ourselves, although we lost pretty badly. But then the mood of the team after the game, like, I mean, we were all still laughing and talking, and that didn't mean we were, you know, not mad about how the game went, but I think that just meant that, like, you know, there's nothing we can do about it now. We might as well just stay as positive as we can, and us sitting around moping around about the game wasn't gonna, make the future game any better, which was the focus then. So I think just moving on from that game, recovering, all of us were really tired. Like he said, we got back really late and, you're sore from a game. So I think just focusing on recovering and just moving on from that is really what I think helped us on Sunday. And now we have a lot of motivation and confidence moving forward.
So Addie, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole team really just put a what's next mentality. I mean, there's nothing we can do, as Maile said, sitting there and crying about it or whatever isn't going to do anything to change the fact that it happened. So I think everyone was just really locked in for the next game and what's next. That's all we can really do.
So as we mentioned, you've come in, Addie, and started every game. And most times you're playing 90 minutes. And not half the time, but I see you often in the final third, in the attacking third up there. How many miles during the course of a game do you run based on the telemetry that you wear? What is it?
I don't know. Phil tells me every week. I think it's usually 7 or 8, somewhere around there. 7 or 8
miles during the course of a game?
Yeah.
What about you, Maile?
Probably the highest I would say it would be mid 6 miles.
Yeah.
But I'm also not in for 90 minutes.
Right.
And I think she's doing a lot more running than me. I think I'm doing shorter distance.
Well, exactly.
things.
Your high intensity sprints, short distance, acceleration, stopping, changing directions, and a lot of times Addie's making those long runs. So it's it's a different type deal, but it's nonetheless.
She's going up and down the field too.
Right.
So.
Right. So you guys, y'all had a practice today. Have you kind of started to get recovered a little bit, Addie?
Trying to. Today practice was pretty light, so I think that will help with recovery. But yeah.
Maile, what about you?
Yeah.
Did you get to take a break today?
No, but I think yesterday in our training room, I think a lot of people got beat up throughout the Alabama game, but obviously everyone played through that. Everyone has these bad bruises or they rolled their ankle or whatever, but that's just what it takes to win at this point. So everyone fought through that, but now it's everyone's focusing on recovery now.
G, I wanted to ask you real quick. We've run over a minute or two, but it's all right. How did you come across these two players?
Well, actually, both of these players come from the same club.
Yes.
So they both come out of Houston, and we had seen these guys when they were little itty bitty. They're still not giants, but they were young. I put it that way, and our eye is always attracted to the human eye is always attracted to movement, and these are two players that are on the move all the time in games, and players who are the most active on their teams. And so with Maile was always the player who was kind of the go-to player with her team, and the player who was scoring goals and was making her team the most successful team that they could be, and was kind of the end of every sentence as far as scoring goals. Addie was a player who was could play anywhere but Addie was always as an attacking midfielder, and oftentimes you would find her on the forward line. She was scoring goals quite often with her team, and we saw her as, okay, we got to get that kid and we'll figure out where she's going to go, because she can do so many different things. And you can see where she is now. Yeah. But she's playing. But we have Addie playing on that flank, because playing in that role that she's in right now, she's actually playing three positions of sorts. So she plays as an outside back, which also means she's an outside midfielder, which means sometimes she's a forward. She's down there on the wing. So because of her lung capacity and her athleticism, she plays 3 positions. She plays the right flank, and she's up and down. And my messaging to her oftentimes is, when you get down there, if you'll just give it to us, you don't have to sprint back so fast. If you go down there and give it to the other team, then it's a lot faster that you got to get back. So this is part of our freshman season, learning and everything else. She's learned. She's figured it out. Absolutely. She didn't have to get back quite as much as she did maybe that first week of the year when we were going. But it's really been fantastic to see the progression, the learning, and just as these guys have come through. And with senior week next week, Miley's going to go through senior because she's about to she'll graduate because she got here early, like these girls do, and so they graduate early. So she'll be going through senior week stuff next week, which is kind of exciting too.
It is. It's a great week, and I want to thank both of you guys for not just what you do on the field representing Texas A&M, but what you do off the field representing women's college soccer and Texas A&M. You're both superb representatives of your sport, and we appreciate it, and glad you are here at Texas A&M. Addie Armenta and Maile Hayes, everybody. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back right after this. Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. Well, we're back at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's the Aggie Soccer Hour with Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri. I'm David Ellis alongside his coach G. And again, if you're out and about trying to figure out what to have for dinner, no better place to go than Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. They'll have just about anything you want back there in the way of barbecue, and I tell you, it is all good. And I'm going to get some and take it home here this evening. So I've got a couple of questions for you. Actually, these are questions from the audience, but they were really good, and I two completely different subjects. One of which is, we've got a couple of players, I think, that are had to retire from soccer for health reasons. And so the question is, are players who retire for health-related reasons able to stay on their scholarship? And if so, does that count against the scholarship limit?
Okay, that is a good question, because that's going to depend on the university that they're at. So I can only speak for us at Texas A&M, and we are very fortunate at Texas A&M that we do take really good care of our student athletes here, and I can speak for all sports in this. And so for our girls, we have had a couple of our girls retire because of medical issues that did not allow them to continue on. And what has happened is we've been able to continue on their scholarship, and basically we were able to do just an accounting maneuver where the scholarship continued on from a medical account, and it didn't count against the team numbers anymore. So
basically just switch the pot that they take the money out of?
Correct. And then the team is able to use the money again to go after, to use for the players who are playing, and the girls, the families don't have to worry about having to come up with new money because their daughter is injured, and she gets to continue on. And that's one of the reasons why pretty much everyone who has come here and played here has graduated from here. And we are committed to making sure that the players that represent Texas A&M are going to be taken care of by Texas A&M, and that's for me is why we bring the players here, is to get that ring and get that degree from here. And that's why 99% of them have graduated over the last 31 years.
Yeah, which is just remarkable.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, it really is.
It's
just remarkable.
A pretty good indicator of the type of people that we go after. That are going to be number one, they're smart, so they're going to be able to survive at a tough school like Texas A&M, but also they're driven, and they're coming here for the right reasons, and their families have raised these young ladies to understand the value of what a degree from a university like Texas A&M is going to do for them, that they're not here just to be professional soccer players. That's something that being here and playing for Texas A&M can set you up for, but that window is very small, and what a degree from Texas A&M is going to do for you is going to do something for you for the next 60 years of your life. And so that is the value of what the degree is, and that's why they're coming here to get that piece of paper, and that ring is what is going to open the doors for those things. And they're smart enough to understand that. So that's why I'm so excited that whenever the lightning bolt does strike and they can't finish with the athletic part of their life because the health is coming their way, that we still take care of them financially.
Super. That is just absolutely super. So we wanted to talk a little bit about, you hear us mention RPI a lot, okay? And a lot of people don't know what that is, and the importance of RPI and how it's calculated, because this is getting to the time of year where you start talking about, okay, SEC tournament, which doesn't have anything to do with the RPI. That's NCAA tournament, but those games in the tournament count in the RPI. So what is RPI, And how does it get used in selecting the 64 teams that end up in the NCAA tournament?
So the RPI is an index, is an index that the NCAA uses to be able to compare apples and oranges and pineapples, which is what NCAA soccer is because there are so many different levels of soccer, and the people who determine who gets into the NCAA tournament, less than 50% of that committee are soccer people. The other 50% are administrators. Some of them have seen soccer before. Few have played soccer before. So they need something that's going to help them with the comparison, to help them make good decisions for those of us who live and breathe and our families are dependent on soccer and they're running our lives. So the RPI is is a measuring stick, and it's not perfect, but it's some sort of measuring stick that helps out. So what it does is it uses it's a number that is generated by your team's wins and losses, and then it's generated by your opponent's wins and losses and your opponent's wins or losses. So it's a way of getting how good is your team by the number of wins you get. How good are your opponent's wins? So you're not just playing a bunch of lollipops that you're giving a licking to all the time. And then your strength of schedule, the teams that you're playing, who are they playing to help with some sort of strength of schedule. So you want to play teams that are going to win games is the key to it. But you want to play teams that are playing good teams that you're going to play. So it's hard to schedule. Number one, I can tell you this because I do our scheduling. It's hard to get a schedule because you never know what other teams' injuries are going to be like. You never know who's going to leave a team at the last minute, and all of a sudden a team is going to fall apart. So Rice University
is a great example.
Is the perfect example. Rice has a really good coach, a really good coaching staff, has done really well over the past 2 years. They're like 2-10 right now. So, and half of those girls probably are in the library now. They've given up, and so they're given like 4 goals a game now every game. So we're like, come on, Owls, get some goals out of this thing. We need you guys to. We need them to win. We need them to win to help us. I put Grambling on the schedule because Grambling is going to win a ton of games in their league. And we thought Texas Southern would also win a bunch of games in our league. Texas Southern hasn't really reciprocated with that as much. We played Florida State because we know Florida State is, they're the number 1 team in the country right now.
Right.
So we knew they're going to win, and I thought that on the right day we could beat them. And we kind of proved that. We just didn't finish that sentence off. So, when I'm putting together a schedule, it's like, okay, you don't want to play teams that you can't. And when teams are putting together a schedule, what I always advise other coaches of is play teams that you think you can beat, play teams that you think that you could win, but don't play teams that you have no chance at. So if you're typical team, don't go and schedule North Carolina and then Duke and then Clemson and then Texas A&M and Texas and all these teams, because if you're going to get battered, there's no use in playing. And so a lot of times when I'm scheduling mid-majors or something like that, is I want to know who else is on their schedule, because I don't want to play a team that's going to play a bunch of other teams like me and lose. I want to play teams who are going to win a bunch of games. Does that make sense? So what the RPI does is it helps to balance out these numbers. And so the NCAA keeps track of this number, and the formula, the algorithm that pops out it ranks teams from 1 to 300 and what's our number?
47.
347. That's how many
Division I soccer teams.
Correct. Right. So every game that is played, the number shifts and everyone moves, and it's an unadjusted number and an adjusted number. And you get bonus points by winning games against teams in the top 40 and teams in 41 to 80 and 80 to 100. Those are where you get bonus points for. And if you beat them at home and if you beat them away and little things like that.
And interestingly enough, every team in the SEC is in the top 100 in RPI, and the SEC has the highest RPI as a conference. Is that correct?
Right. So the SEC has a bunch of smart cookies in it. The other league who's done really well at this, believe it or not, is the Ivy League. Smart cookies in both. Well,
That's right.
I think if you were to line up the Ivy League and the SEC, some people might not think the SEC would be better, but the SEC coaches have figured it out.
Yeah.
So good for our guys.
Good scheduling.
So,
All right.
so what happens is for us is every game that we play, because we're playing the SEC and we all have this high number next to us, it helps us. So we just played the number 11 team. That's going to help us. Tennessee is very high. South Carolina is very high. Because Auburn just beat Arkansas, who was number 6, they went from like 105 to 80. Boom, just like that for one game. So all of these teams that we're going to play can help us if we can get the right result.
All right, we're running way behind, but I thought that was an interesting thing to explain to people because it's going to become very important this time of year. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a sprint to the finish here at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. We are back at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's the Aggie Soccer Hour with Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri. I'm David Ellis, and it's a sprint to the finish here. So you have heard us talk about the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about the SEC tournament, which is coming up the end of this month and the first part of November. And you'll also hear us talk about standings, quote unquote, and there are really two sets of standings in the SEC. One of them is the division standings. The A&M's in the SEC West, of course, and then the conference standings, and they're two different things.
And if you go to the website, don't because
in 12 years,
it's
in 12 years they have never figured this out, and I don't know why, but it drives me nuts. I have to take the data and put it in an Excel spreadsheet and print it out because it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, and they've.
So you know how I get you wound up sometimes? Well, you just did it to me. That's,
Craig Pinkerton, who does this stuff for the SEC office, does a really good job. He sends out a release, and it has both standings.
Yes,
but for some reason it doesn't go to the webmaster.
No, I don't know. I don't know how they. Anyway,
he does a great job.
Almost unreadable. Anyway, the division standings, here's a weird deal, okay? Georgia is leading the SEC East, which means...
Well, let's put it this way.
I'll let you explain.
So the way that the division standings are determined is only games that you play in your division go into those standings. The way that the SEC overall standings are all points. Anyone against anybody counts in those standings.
So the game against Vanderbilt
only went into the overall conference standings.
Yeah, it doesn't count, and that has nothing to do with where we stand in the SEC West because Vanderbilt's in the SEC
Correct.
East.
So we are all alone right now in first place in the SEC West because we've played more games than Arkansas has.
Right.
We've played we've played 4 Western Conference games or division games, and we have 9 points.
Right.
We've won 3 games, and they've only won 2 games, and so we have 9 points. They have 6 points.
Right.
So as things go right now, if we were to finish in a tie with them, because they have a loss, they lost to Auburn, we have a loss, we lost to them, they would have the tiebreaker over us, but we would be co-champions of the West.
Right.
But they would get the number 1 seed because they beat us.
Yes.
Now, if somebody nicks them gets a tie, and let's say we are able to win the rest of our games, then we would be the Western Division champions, and we would get either the 1 seed or the 2 seed in the SEC tournament, even though Arkansas could be the overall champion of the league.
Yes.
How crazy is that?
It's happened before.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts, but it can happen. And so here's the deal. The top 10 teams make the SEC tournament. That is determined by the ranking of all 14 teams.
Right. It doesn't have to be even. It doesn't have to be 5 from the East and 5 from the West. It's overall points.
Overall points. But the 1 and 2 seeds are the ones who win their divisions. Okay, no matter whether you've got even more points than the guys who won it overall. So it's crazy. It'll drive you nuts, but that's the way it works. And
we're okay with that.
And we're okay with that. So I keep my sheet here that has the division standings that tells me who they have left to play and where and all that kind of stuff. It's the only way I can keep it straight. But anyway, I wanted to tell you this. We play Auburn at 6:30 on Friday night. You can watch the game on SEC Plus, or you can listen to Thomas Dick and I have the broadcast from the stadium there in Auburn. They put us outside on a bench, and we'll be probably draped in rain gear trying to keep the equipment dry and not get electrocuted at the same time. Done that before. But you're going to have to listen to it.
Wait, you've been electrocuted before?
I've been shocked, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now I understand now. I understand.
That's what happens where it's all starting to go wrong. But at any rate, you're going to have to listen on the 12th Man mobile app. It's not going to be on a radio station here. It's the only game in the year that's not going to be on the radio station. You have to listen on 12th Man mobile app. Go to 12thman.com/listen. You'll be able to get it. That game will come on at 6:15, the pregame show, and then we'll have the broadcast for you, and then you can turn down whoever's broadcasting the game on the SEC network or SEC Plus. So anyway, I wanted to tell you that, and then we're going to get back. We'll be back in town next Thursday against South Carolina. That game gets underway at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be senior night, and South Carolina is a great opponent. Again, ranked high in the RPI. They are, where are they? They are 35th in the RPI, which is very high. So you're going to want to be out there for that, and that game gets underway at 7 o'clock. And it's time for me to say that this copyrighted broadcast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield IMG College under broadcasting rights granted by Texas A&M University. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the express written consent of Texas A&M University and Learfield IMG College. Announcers are provided by Learfield IMG College and Texas A&M University. For G Guerrieri, I'm David Ellis. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Thursday.